Hey everybody, Mike Freeland coming at you on this beautiful but chilly day in February 26th, in Maryland on the East Coast. And although we've been having warm days and not so warm days, it's a little chilly. So for spring, but at this point right now, we're still uh, wearing the hoodie when we can. Be glad to put it up and be able to sit out on my deck and just enjoy some of the birds and all of these things. But in any way, what I wanted to do today, guys, was because I've been getting messages over some of the things that I've posted as if I didn't know anything about, Christianity and things like that. I wanted to give a little background about myself, um, and what it is or where I've been in this spiritual walk. And that's what it is. It's a spiritual walk. I myself, like I'm sure a lot of people that's going to view this video, I was born and raised Christian. I was born and raised in Pentecostal slash holiness portion of Christianity. Uh, and I've literally, since I was born, I was on the back pew, ripping up and running down. There's not too much in the Pentecostal movement that I'm not familiar with. Growing up in church, I was a junior usher, I was a junior trustee, um, junior choir, gospel choir, senior choir, mass choir. We I've seen pretty much every type of service that the auxiliaries have. I've been to all of the conventions, pretty much that our organization, which everybody does, convocations and district convocations, uh, youth conventions, usher conventions, you name it. I've been around it all my life. I became an ordained deacon, an ordained minister, an ordained evangelist in the organization that I'm a part of. And I love it. I think that the organization that I was born and raised in my own opinion, is one of, if not the best organization as far as holiness and Pentecostal that I'm familiar with. I enjoy it. There's so many great memories about growing up in the organization that I'm a part of, and I just love it. However, there's always been, and I think anybody can say this, there's always been this underlying, few questions that I've always had. Now, remember back in the day when you used to ask questions before the internet where you could do your research, people would just tell you, oh, just believe, just believe, just believe. That was the scapegoat way because they did not know the answers. Okay. So a few years ago, I just started to go out. I wanted to go out on this escape, if you will, and just research and want to know why I believe what I believe, why, my parents and grandparents and everybody believe what we believe when we know that it's a fact that Christianity was beat into the African. Islam was beat into the African. They didn't just wake up, Africans did not just wake up and see the light and decide that they want to be Muslim or decide that they wanted to be Christian. It was forced on them. So I started my journey on, not religion and other forms of spirituality and things, and it really started to intrigue me. Um, and then, I started taking classes, and the classes that I was taking a few years ago opened up things even more because it was giving a basis on not just the Abrahamic faiths, if you will, but also the faiths of all other cultures, the creation stories of many different cultures. And it just blew my mind that although they were different, a lot of ways they were the same. And so the more that I learned, the more that I wanted to learn. I went on hiatuses. I started taking courses. These books back here, you can see I have plenty of books. I have books that most of my books are up in my bedroom because I do a lot of reading up there. These are like snatch and grabs down here for when I'm doing research and I may reach back and grab a book. I'll show you a little example. A couple years ago, almost 2 years, this was a special edition that it came out with Life magazine, and it was "Who Do You Say That I Am?" And I bought this specifically because it was all about Christianity and Jesus. And I read through this, and I was amazed at the similarities of this and this information here, a lot of this information here, which is the African builders of great civilization. This was actually done by someone that I've seen a couple of times live. His name is Ashra. His wife's name is Maria Kwaisi. This is a powerful manuscript. He's been to Egypt over 30 years or so, studying and researching Egypt and the pharaohs and the kings and everything out of Egypt. And you will be amazed that literally what you've learned here comes from here. It's just been, translated, rewritten, taken, if you will, regrouped and packaged back as this. This is amazing. Two books here that I kind of cross-reference with each other. And then I have the King James Version Bible back here, the New Standard Version. I have the Bibles that different denominations, Jehovah's Witnesses, Catholics. I have the Old Testament survey back here when I actually took a course on that. So I have a dictionary, the Smith's Bible Dictionary. Upstairs, I have encyclopedias. I have a whole, library for myself of spiritual books and religious books. And what I've learned is that the more that I learned, the more that I wanted to know, and the more that I realized that, I don't care what the denominations is, people change stuff to benefit themselves. Before you have to ask yourself questions, guys. Like before Christianity, if Christianity is just about 2,000, maybe a little over 2,000 years old, what were people actually? What was the religion or the spiritual concepts before Christianity? If you want to go back, scientists are saying that the planet is millions and millions of years old. The first person that they can find was out of Africa. So what was the spirituality concepts back then? 99% of your indigenous people, that are people who still have connections to where they're from, they all had spiritual beliefs before Christianity. Okay, and since they had them before Christianity, what was that then? Some incorporate Christianity along with them, so they keep up with their traditions. Some eliminate their traditions altogether. So then after doing all of my researching and, late nights up, and I went through the things that everybody else do, being born and raised Christian, you start wrestling with what you were told versus what you're learning. Now people will tell you, what you're learning is of the devil. You'll start questioning, things that you're learning, and you spend countless nights, sleepless nights, wondering if you're doing wrong, looking at other stuff, and it just goes on and on and on. Yet God gives you, no matter what you believe, God gives you the mind and all to want to learn, to learn, to research. That's the big thing. Now you can research when you couldn't research years ago. You pretty much went with whatever you was told, whatever was passed down and passed down and passed down. Now with the good old internet, social media, and all of this other stuff you can get on, you can just Google or YouTube, go on YouTube and type in a few keywords, and you can get, answers to many things that you may have questions to. Keep it in mind, though, you have to take some of it, and, there's an old saying, eat the meat and spit out the bones. So when you go into doing your research, you definitely have to make sure that you are comprehending things the correct way. Then also there's so many documentaries out there now. Morgan Freeman had his Finding God series that was coming out, I believe, on Discovery Channel. There's, videos out, How Did the Devil Get His Horns, which I saw a documentary, which was very, very interesting. It showed Satan before he became the red devil with horns and a tail, and, the whole horrifying thing that we think about now. Then when you talk about more spirituality, you start reading or eventually you're going to come into out of body experiences, people with near death experiences, astral travel. I mean, the whole gauntlet of learning and comprehending things is just amazing. It's so vast, so you can read, you can spend countless hours looking online, and then you'll spend even more hours just trying to saturate what you've actually learned. So, what I guess what I'm saying, with all that I've grown up in, all that I've learned, I just kind of feel like Christianity. I mean, I just believe that, if you want to say, well, do you believe in Jesus? Yes, I believe in Jesus. Do you believe the Son of God? Yes, I do. I believe in Christ consciousness. I also believe that, many stories that talk, and even in the Bible that talks about all of these people that went to Egypt to learn and then came back. I believe they came back, they revamped stuff, put it back out there to feature as their own, and made it look like, they were the great explorers, the great originators, and a lot of it was just stuff that they redid for themselves. Even the Greek physician, uh, Hippocrates even made the statement that Imhotep was the great doctor, out of Egypt, and so it just goes back and forth. People take things and fix it to present to their own people for their own benefit, and a lot of times in religion for their own power and own, their own control. As a matter of fact, if you really want to look at it, you know, the Bible and everything is Jewish ideas of a Jewish God. People can look at if you want to go to Africa and the Yoruba religion, if you want to go to Hades and Voodoo, everybody can say the same thing about that's a Haitian belief in God, African beliefs in God, the Orishas. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So you really have to do your own, uh, uh, research with it. And what I finally just, came to with looking at a lot of things online, even beyond it, when you start opening up to spirituality and the law of attraction and things like that, that's just another whole chapter of in the same book. So now what I've learned, and I've pretty much become comfortable with, is understanding that, there's different concepts, and you can blend a lot of those concepts without losing the backbone of who you are. I've set up many a night when I guess other people are asleep or whatever. I set up talking to God. I've sat, up in bed at night with tears streaming and all, because of all of the things that I'm finding out and learning about that seems to contradict what I was brought up to believe, and then to see that a lot of what I believe actually come from other religious concepts and everything. So it's a learning process. You'll battle with yourself. You'll battle with what you know. You'll talk to people, and they'll look at you like you're crazy because you're not turning away, but you're just learning more. Just like anything else, when you go through school, you go through kindergarten, pre-K, you're moving on, you elevate until you get out and you graduate from high school, and then if you choose to go to college and so forth, or if you're a trade or whatever, you go to medical school, law school, or whatever it is, you're constantly learning. But it always seems like religion is a one kill spot, and then if you decide to go anywhere beyond that, you start getting strange looks from people. People start thinking as soon as you're saying something that may be slightly different from what you were born and raised up on, people start looking at you like they can see the horns growing right up out of your head. And that's not necessarily the case. The case is that you decided to research and pursue a little further than most people. People don't even realize that this whole world is changing on every level, pretty much, with the exception of religion. And I'm not saying that you have to lose the grounding of religion, but religion is expanding as well. And if I would assume that if they could have really kept as much stuff off of the web as out there that is out there, that people would still be down here. But because you can go to the web and type in keywords, to bring up things that interest you, and you can learn new things. People mind is expanding, and some people can't comprehend that. Some people think it's wrong. Um, Now, when if I go to church or whatever, I'm not necessarily getting all caught up in the shouting and the screaming and the hollering. I'm really sitting there and I'm listening and I'm focused and I'm tuned in to what the message is about, where it's coming from, and what as a preacher would say is given from God, and then what is their 2 cents in it as well. And so you're sitting there, and for me, it's more like going and listening to a lecture more so than to go in there and get all caught up. And there's nothing wrong with the praise and worship. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with the praise and worship. It's an emotional thing. It makes people feel like they're really getting close to God and all of that. I get that. But also when it's time for the message or the sermon, to be brought forth, you want to make sure that what's being brought forth and what's going in your spirit resonates with you, and is based on truth, and not just somebody's opinion. So that's where I am. Hopefully the person who actually messaged me about this the same way he messaged me about another video, he will take time to look at this. No, I did not give up on Christianity. I think a lot different about it now than what I used to. I'm a strong, strong believer in Christ consciousness. I believe we all have Christ consciousness in us. I believe that all of us is a slice off of the divine. I believe all of us are that way. And I believe that when we leave this plane and we go on, some people believe that you're going to go to heaven. Some people believe you're going to go to hell. Some religions teach that you got purgatory. Some people believe in karma. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of things. Then there's some people believe that you just return back to the essence. You know, in a lot of the African spirituality, they believe that you go to the ancestral realm. I mean, when you start looking into all of this, there's so many different things that people believe. If I don't agree with them, it doesn't, I don't send them to hell because I don't agree with them. Just like I hope they don't send me to whatever they deem the negative part of their faith or their belief. But the bottom line, I've learned to listen. I've seen where people, every time you hear the word voodoo or voodoo, and I was in that case or that bucket as well. Always thought evil until I started researching and learning about it. And I know that voodoo or voodoo, whichever one you want to call it, can be used for good. It can be used for evil. But so can Christianity. How many times have you heard someone, use Jesus' name or the Lord's name and use it right in the midst of wanting something done to somebody else? So you can't be in love with one and criticize the other and doing the same thing that the others are doing. Okay, so my advice to people is we got this beautiful web, the opportunity to research and learn a lot of stuff. Type in keywords in Google, type in keywords to some of the stuff that that you're interested in, and read it. Take the bitter with the sweet. What resonates with you, take it. What doesn't, leave it. Turn off a lot of your standard television. All of the sportings and all of the garbage lifetimes and all of these other things that's just filling you with nothing, and take some time and research some religious stuff. Just you could type in anything. If you're interested in African spirituality verses, something like that, or heaven and hell, or just things to kind of guide you, and then from there you'll see where there's the doors are open up for you. I am really, really content, and I still want to learn so much more, but I'm really comfortable with what I've learned. I still try to, I try to stay in the right. I don't force what I've learned on nobody else, but if we're talking and, it becomes available for me to talk about it, then I do. And I really believe that this helps me out a whole lot with the law of attraction, with speaking things into existence, with manifestation. And if you've seen my other videos as far as the finances and things that we're creating, which I've been sharing with people, a lot of what I've learned now I'm putting into action, and I'm seeing some of the best results, not only for my own self financially, but helping other people create income online with opportunities that I believe were God sent. And I believe that if you share them and you use them, for the uplift of the people out there who are in need, you're going to be greatly rewarded anyway. When you're not doing it just for satisfaction to yourself, but you're helping other people, you're going to be blessed. So yes, law of attraction, spirituality, manifestation. There's so many different uh, examples of speaking things and manifesting things. There's so many techniques that people do, but to make them feel like they're accomplishing what it is that they're doing. For me, it's really just being real with people, sharing it with people, and helping people achieve their goals using spirituality, as my backbone, manifestation, teaching it as well. I'm still at a major learning curve, but at least what I'm learning, I'm sharing it with people, and we're all seeing positive and great results. So with that, hope this wasn't too long of a rant. It wasn't really a rant, but I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please like this. Please, how the story goes, like it. Share it if you take a few minutes, just copy and paste or whatever, shoot it on Facebook or what have you. So hopefully it will guide people back here, and maybe we can say and do some things that will help someone else along the way. This is Mike Freeland. You guys take care. Have a great evening. Bye bye.